No, okay, no, on a real question, like I said to you earlier about like it's all very well that we come and do this kumbaya amazing stuff that we're here to do because I want to do the kumbaya stuff. I don't dress like a hippie and look like a hippie just because I want to be a duck. You know, but in retrospect, I want the things I do to have a long-lasting, impactful change, and I have enough sense to know what change means. And when I look at all the grassroots level stuff, it's all amazing. However, what is going to secure that in the long run through policies, and how do we now educate our grassroots level people who don't have tertiary education or access to those wells of funding, because there is access to funding, we just don't know how to apply. So how do we break that bridge, and how do we fight the legislation in a real way?
Ask me an easy question. My name is Anthony Turton. I'm speaking to you from the vanishing forest on the banks of the Mzimkhulu River. And I've just been asked a very profound question. And what you might not know was I'm a product of the 1970s, and I was a hippie in the 1970s. Believe it or not, I used to have hair down to my shoulders, and I used to play the drums in a rock band. And the significance of the 1960s and 70s was that some of the most amazing human beings that have made an impact on the planet came out of that era. And part of that is because we just believe we can think differently. So the question has been asked, what needs to be done to change the world into a more sustainable way? And I think for me, as a water guy, the most important thing is that we need to understand that water is an infinitely renewable resource. But more importantly, water is an economic enabler. There's no shortage of capital. There's no shortage of technology. There is a shortage of bankable projects, and there is a shortage of imagination. We need to fire up the imagination of a generation. And now I'm talking to the born-free generation in South Africa. The born-free generation in South Africa is an amazing generation because they've grown up with an enormous amount of aspirations but very little delivery. But more importantly, because they've grown up with this absolute uncertainty in their lives, they don't know what their limitations are. So the born-free generation holds in its hands the possibility for bringing about very, very important change. And in my professional opinion, between now and 2024, when we have the next general election, there's going to be a sea change. There's going to be a tidal shift in the politics of South Africa. And this is the time for the voice of the individual to start coming forward. We need to start harnessing the rage, the anger that's coming out of the younger generation. And we need to start converting that into the high-octane rocket fuel of change. Change for good. Change for a better future. And while this sounds all very esoteric, the important thing is we've got to move ourselves away from a linear economy where we take, we make, and we dump. And we've got to move into a circular economy where instead of taking, making, and dumping, we are now value adding, beneficiating all of those waste streams, where the waste of one enterprise becomes the lifeblood of another. And let me give you an example. Up until now, water has been considered as a problem, particularly salt water, because the idea of salt water or seawater desalination is that you've got salt in the seawater and therefore you have to get rid of it at a great cost to produce potable water through desalination. The Saudis have changed that completely now, and they've said now, instead of building a business model that says we must remove salt from seawater to produce low-cost, low-value drinking water, let's rather concentrate the salt. Let's rather turn the salt into a beneficiation product, and the byproduct from that process is perfect drinking water. This is where we need to go. We have a crisis in this generation, not of resource scarcity. We've got a crisis of critical thinking. The beautiful thing is that water is an infinitely renewable resource. So all the water problems we're talking about, in fact, are not problems at all. They are problems of critical thinking. This is our moment in time when we're going to start talking about a paradigm of abundance, and we're going to move out of this paradigm of scarcity. My name is Anthony Turton, and I'm talking to you from the banks of the Mzimkhulu River, the last of the free-flowing rivers in South Africa that is unimpaired, unimpeded by any dam. we need to retain the ecological integrity of this river so that the local people can actually become let's say the benchmark for what we need to do things, the way we need to do things in the future. In Zulu we say Vulindlele, Vulindlele. Let's open up the road. Let's show the way forward. Vulindlele.